Today we're going to be taking a look at the 5 current gen Kindles, and we're going to see which is best for you. The point of this video is not to get into the specs of each and every one of these devices. Instead, I just want to kind of give you an overview of what each device offers. That way you can make a decision on which best suits your needs and sounds most interesting to you. I'm going to have the links for all these devices in the description below, so you can go and check out the specs, read other customer reviews, and just do some investigating for yourself. But that said, let's get started with the first Kindle that I want to talk about today, and that's going to be this one, the Kindle Scribe. Now, the first thing you need to know about the new Kindle Scribe is that it starts at $400, which is going to be far and away the most expensive Kindle that we're going to talk about today. But for that $400 price tag, you get a 10-inch display and the stylus is included. You can upgrade the storage on this device. The price will adjust accordingly, but the base model is going to be $399 or $400. This device is primarily meant for the person who wants to take notes. This is really not an e-reader, though. I mean, it is a Kindle and you absolutely can read books on it. That's all I've ever done with this device. I'm not much of a note taker, but really the focus here is for the person who takes lots of extensive notes. You've got shelves of notebooks that are filled up and you just want a digital solution and you want to kind of switch over from analog, I guess, writing in notebooks. So if that's you, definitely check this device out, but I do want to stress this is really not going to be your first choice if you just want a device on which you can read books. It's kind of heavy and bulky. It doesn't travel well. I mean, I suppose if you're just looking for kind of an armchair, stay-at-home e-reader, this is not bad. But I think for the price, if you're just looking for an e-reader, it's quite expensive and quite impractical. Oh, and I also want to just elaborate on the note-taking features here. I have a whole video dedicated to the previous version of the Scribe, but basically you cannot write directly in books. So if you are a reader first, but you're looking for something to annotate on digitally, this is not a bad choice, though I will caution you still cannot write directly on the page of the book here. You can write on what Amazon calls these little sticky notes that will appear when you click on them and show what you've written, which is not a bad option. It definitely keeps things nice and neat, but you can't underline directly on a book or write in the margin or write under or cross out or do any of those fun things. You can highlight. Amazon is coming out with a feature soon that will allow you to write in the digital margin of the book, but you can't write directly on the page. Now, next up is going to be what is often referred to as the Kindle Basic, and that's this little guy right here. It's just called the Kindle, but for the sake of clarity, it's usually referred to by most as the Kindle Basic. Now, before we get into this device in particular, I want to take just a moment to shout out my wife and her little business. So she is just recently started selling Kindle cases. So if you're in the market for a Kindle and you want a cute case to go with it, or a not so cute case, there are non-cute options, I guess. Definitely check out her website, foreverbooked.com. She's got some really cool holiday-inspired ones. This one has been by far the most popular. We are actually almost sold out of this one, so if this one looks interesting to you, definitely go ahead and check it out on the website. But she's also got this Bose one, which I think is pretty cute for the holiday season, but beyond even. And then if you're looking for something maybe a little less feminine, a little less girly, this Waves one is really cool as well, and a portion of the proceeds from this device are actually going to the victims of the recent hurricanes that have happened. So if you want to check this one out, super cool as well. There's all kinds of Kindle cases available in every single size except for the Scribe. So if you choose any other Kindle that we talk about today other than the Scribe, there are cases available for that device. But again, really appreciate it if you check that out. If that sounds interesting to you, again, the website is foreverbooked.com. And if you use code bookworm10, you get 10% off your purchase. So hey, if you're in the market for a Kindle and you want it to look as cool as possible, check out one of these cases. But that said, getting back to the Kindle Basic, this device is going to cost you $109. And what is probably coolest about this device, my favorite thing about it, is going to be the color. this matcha color. This is the only Kindle currently available in this matcha green color, and I don't know that the camera really does it justice. I think this color is super cool. It grew on me. I didn't love it at first, but I really grown to like this green matcha color. So that alone is a reason to check out the Kindle Basic. But basically what you have in the Basic is going to be the Paperwhite, kind of with a couple steps down. And I realize we haven't talked about the Paperwhite yet. We will do that in just a moment. But this is kind of the Paperwhite for a little bit cheaper. You do sacrifice, though, when you go with the Basic over the Paperwhite. Some of those sacrifices are going to be the screen size. So on the Kindle Basic, you have a 6-inch display, which is really not bad. That's not a pro or a con. It's just, it is what it is. It's smaller, but that means it's also a little bit more portable. This will probably fit into the pocket of your favorite jeans. It'll definitely fit in your purse. It's just a great Kindle for on-the-go reading. But with that and with the price comes some other kind of cheaper alternatives. And the biggest one is going to be the build quality. Now, this is by no means a cheaply built Kindle, but when you compare it to the other versions, you can tell it is kind of cheaperly made. It's got more of a toyish feel to it, a toyish plastic, whereas the others are still made out of plastic, but they feel just a bit more premium. You also, looking at the front, have bezels, whereas all the other Kindle versions are going to have a flush front. This one does still have the bezels that pop up. Some prefer it, some don't. I tend to not prefer that, but it's all personal preference. But you're also lacking a couple other features here. You do not have the warm light functionality, which is available on the other versions of the Kindle, and you do not get water resistance with this device. So if you like to read around water, the beach, the bath, wherever, that might be something to think about. And also if you like to read at night, having no warm light is also maybe a feature that you would miss as well. But the price here is not bad, $109, and I really love the portability of this device. For the longest time, I always said, don't go with the Basic, just spend the little bit of extra money and go with the Paperwhite. But this Basic has really grown on me, and I don't know that it's necessarily my favorite, but I do really, really enjoy using this device. Plus the matcha is just so cool. And so that brings us to the Kindle Paperwhite. And when you think about a Kindle, this is probably what you think about. This is far and away the most popular version. This is the one that most people have, and there's a reason for that. It comes in at $169. You get a 7-inch display on the newest version of the Paperwhite, and it's got everything you need and really nothing that you don't. So without getting into all the details on this device, I will say build quality is pretty good. For $169, I think it's not bad. It is made out of plastic, as we said, but it's a nice premium plastic. The front is nice and flush, and it just feels like a pretty premium device for an e-reader, for a device that's meant to just show you words on a screen. This is not bad at all. Now, in addition to this standard black color, the Paperwhite also comes in a new raspberry and jade color, and I think both options look really good. It comes standard with 16 gigabytes of storage, which is going to be, I think, more than enough for the average reader, unless you are reading very text-heavy books or documents or whatever, or unless you plan on putting lots of audiobooks on this device. That 16 gigs is going to last you forever, and even if it does start to fill up, you can always delete books from your library. They'll stay in your Amazon library, where you can download them at any time. So I wouldn't really worry about it. It takes 5 seconds to download a book, so storage is really not going to be an issue. This device is going to give you more than enough. Now, as for the screen itself, we do have, as I said, that 7-inch display, but this is also going to be in black and white. And again, I think for the average reader, that is perfectly fine. There have been some new flashy Kindle e-readers come out this year. We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. But for the average person who just likes to read a novel or read a nonfiction book, I think black and white is going to get the job done just fine, though it won't be as fun or flashy. This device does have a front-lit display, as does every other Kindle that we're going to talk about today, but this one also has that warm light feature that we talked about a moment ago. And this is going to be similar to what you have probably on your phone or your iPad or whatever device you use regularly. When it gets dark, the screen can turn to more of like a yellowy, kind of hazy display. It's just one of those little things that when you don't have it, you don't really realize you're missing out, but when you do have it, it's hard to go back. It also has your standard dark mode, which most devices these days are going to have, and it is water resistant. So you can take this in the bath, by the beach, wherever, and you're gonna be just fine. And another thing to mention on this device, and also the Basic, and also kind of the Scribe, is that you're going to have an amazing battery life. This device is rated at 12 weeks on a single charge. I don't know that you'll necessarily get there, but it just depends on how often or not often you use the device. But generally speaking, you're not going to have to charge this device very often at all, maybe once every couple of months. But again, that's going to vary. Now, a step up from the Kindle Paperwhite is going to be the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition, this one right here. And it's going to have pretty much everything that the regular Kindle Paperwhite has, with a couple of nice upgrades. This device, though, is going to cost you $200. It comes in a few different color options: black, jade, or raspberry, but you get it in kind of a metallic-y kind of color. I don't have the regular Paperwhite to show you an in-person comparison. You'll just have to kind of believe me. This one's a little more metallic. The other versions of these colors are going to be a little more matte. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. People do tend to prefer this more metallic version. I could see why. It is nice, but probably not going to be a deal breaker for you on which device you should choose. I will say for the Signature Edition, I don't know that it's really worth that $40 upgrade unless you plan on paying $20 to remove ads on the regular Paperwhite. Because, yes, you do have to pay money to remove ads from a device you just purchased. I think it's kind of silly, but that is just the reality we live in. So if you plan on paying that $20 extra for the regular Paperwhite anyway, it might be worth it to spend $20 more, so $40 more total for this device, because it comes standard with no ads, but you also get 32 gigabytes of storage, so double the storage of the regular Paperwhite, which again, 16 is going to be more than enough. 32 will be more than you'll probably ever use unless you are very audiobook heavy, but it's just nice to have, I guess. It's just a more premium Paperwhite, really. And then you also get auto-adjusting brightness on this device, though I will say it's kind of hit or miss. I usually just end up turning it off and adjusting manually anyway, but that's a nice little feature that you get with this device. And then you also, for $40 more, get wireless charging, though I will say that's kind of a nothing burger feature, because a device you have to charge 4 times a year, the charging experience is not that important, right? You just plug it in for an hour and don't worry about it again for 3 months. And you have to pay separately for the wireless charger. So some upgrades here, but are they really upgrades? I don't know. You get a little bit different of a color and you get double the storage. That's really going to be the only meaningful difference, I think. But if you want to spend the money and you don't want lock screen ads, this is not a bad way to go. And then the final Kindle that I want to tell you about, kind of the main event, is the new Kindle Colorsoft. And I have to say, this device has been interesting to watch in the last few months since it's come out. I guess month and a half, I don't know. Time has flown. But this device is not even shipping right now. The launch for this has been nothing short of a disaster for Amazon. If you check this device out, the reviews are mostly all awful. I'm sure Amazon will get it together. I don't know when you're watching this video in 2025, but at this time, it's not good for this device. But hopefully by the time you're watching this, Amazon has gotten it together and ironed out these kinks. But there's been problems with this device, so it's hard to give this a fair review as of right now. We've been pretty lucky. We haven't had a ton of issues with it. So I'll just kind of speak generally. Firstly, this device is almost $300. It's $279, but add tax and everything, you're pushing $300 for what is basically the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition with color. So you really have to ask yourself, is having a colorized screen worth basically twice as much if you're comparing it to the regular Paperwhite? And for me, every time the answer is going to be no, because I read novels and a little bit of nonfiction. If I read a lot of graphic novels or manga or comics or magazines or something like that, maybe it would be worth it. But even still, I might just opt for an iPad mini, because yes, this thing will display color, and yes, it is pretty. you're not really getting the full experience. Again, this is subjective. I've read a lot of people say that they really like the kind of retro newspaper style look. It reminds them of when they were a kid reading the comics in the newspaper, and that's fine. If that's you, great. But if you want the full experience of seeing color fully colorized, probably go with an iPad mini, or just read on your phone, because this device is cool, but for the price, I just don't know that it's practical really for anybody. If you have the budget and you really just want to see your novel colors in full color, covers in full color, go for it. Or if you don't mind the retro newspaper style look on your comics, graphic novels, I'd say go for it. But with the current problems that it's having and at its current price, it's just hard to recommend this device to anyone. And so with that in mind, this year, I have to say that my favorite Kindle is still the Kindle Paperwhite. I know it's kind of the boring, safe choice, but it really is the gold standard. It's hard to beat for the price. You get everything you need and a little bit extra, I guess, but none of the other useless stuff that you get kind of on the signature edition, and definitely not the useless stuff that you get on the Colorsoft. This is the safe, reliable, but sensible choice, and I love it. This is the device that I use more often than not. But again, it's all going to depend on you and what you are looking for in an e-reader. So I hope this video has been helpful. Let me know if you have any specific questions in the comments below. I'm more than happy to try to help if I can. And don't forget, if you're looking for a case for your new Kindle, be sure to check out my wife's little bookish shop, foreverbooked.com. She's always adding new designs. Probably by the time that I record this and upload it, she'll have a few more up. So check it out. There's lots of cool stuff. But as always, I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.